Let's talk Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. It sounds like if Brock Purdy and Trey Lance are both healthy, that Brock Purdy is Mr. Right now. But is Brock Purdy Mr. Right? Matt Mayoko of NBC's Bay Area dropped a report saying that 49er players would be upset if the San Francisco 49ers started any quarterback other than Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy came in, did a phenomenal job for the San Francisco 49ers, went from Mr. Irrelevant to a guy who I'm calling Mr. Right now. There's a lot to like about Brock Purdy. He's quick, short area quickness is extremely high, very accurate. And the thing that I like most about Brock Purdy is his mindset. This guy seems to be bulletproof, especially for a 7th round pick. This is a kid who plays like he has nothing to lose. And these are things that I saw from him in college. Now, Brock Purdy does lack some major intangibles that could ultimately derail him, but they are things that he can also work on a little bit. Overall arm strength is an area of opportunity, and he does not climb the pocket well. This is a big reason why he was in a position to get injured, unfortunately, in the NFC Championship. Now, Brock Purdy is a guy who can keep this offense on time and in rhythm, and you saw that from the San Francisco 49ers this year. They were able to put up a ton of points when Brock Purdy came in, and they have a plethora of all-pro caliber players for him to play point guard with. And when you watch him play, some of these throws he makes seem very basic, wide open receivers, but doing them on time and on schedule is extremely important in this offense, and you cannot take that away from him. Now, Brock Purdy is a kid that I've liked for quite some time. Came out of Iowa State, thought he was going to enter the 2021 draft. That was not the case. Yeah, I haven't looked into it. I mean, there's a couple guys that I know that didn't come out this year that I like. Brock Purdy, let's say. I continued to follow him and rooted for him, was very happy when he became a San Francisco 49er. Now, let's talk about Trey Lance for a minute. 49ers spend 3 first-round picks essentially to draft Trey Lance. Does not start year 1, comes in year 2, has the major injury, breaking his ankle. And there's a lot to like about Trey Lance as well. There's a reason that the 49ers drafted him. He's got an incredible arm strength. One thing that he has improved on is climbing the pocket and touch on his passes. He's also very athletic. But there are some things not to like, things that he needs to improve on. He lacks decisiveness, short area quickness. That's something we talked about with Brock Purdy. That's something that he'll probably never have. Decisiveness, however, is something he can work on. Now, there are things that Trey Lance has that Brock Purdy will never have. There are plays that he can hit that Brock Purdy cannot. For example, if you look at the interception that Brock Purdy threw against the Raiders, the very first preseason game that Trey Lance had, he hits that same throw. It's a power arm. That's something that cannot be taught. So let's talk about this for a second. Can you be Mr. Right now, but not Mr. Right? Definitely. I think there are quarterbacks throughout history that have fooled people. Many, many times it has happened. Let's look at a guy like Nick Foles. In his second year, just 24 years old, leads the Eagles to an 8-2 record, 64% completion percentage, 27 touchdown passes to just 2 interceptions. He then, a few years later, leads the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl championship, throwing for 971 yards, 6 touchdowns, and just 1 interception in only 3 games. Now, this is a guy that a lot of people wanted over Carson Wentz. And, unfortunately for the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz wasn't the right answer either. I think they had two quarterbacks that ultimately weren't the right answer, but Nick Foles wasn't the right answer. But he fooled people for a pretty good period of time into thinking that he could be the right answer. You look at Dak Prescott right now, a guy who lit the league on fire early on in his career. I mean, did things that rookies really hadn't done. And now that he's got a big contract and the team is falling apart around him, they want to get rid of him. But how long has he fooled people? 4 years? 5 years? Case Keenum is another great example of this. Case Keenum had a season where he led the Minnesota Vikings to an 11-3 record, completed 68% of his passes, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Case Keenum wasn't the answer at quarterback, but he put together a good year, fooled some people. Jimmy Garoppolo, 49er fans, you know this all too well. This is a guy who had a 5-game stretch for the 49ers. Then he gets injured, and when he comes back, first year they go to the Super Bowl. And then they go to the NFC Championship. Shoot, Jimmy Garoppolo fooled a big chunk of this fan base for about 5 seasons due to injury and what have you. So here's what I want to say about Brock Purdy. I think it's a great story. But Brock Purdy, to me, is Mr. Right Now. And what I mean by that is, if the 49ers' goal is to win more games in this upcoming season, then they start Brock Purdy over Trey Lance. I think that is absolutely the decision that they make. However, if they want to win long term, if they want a kid that when his contract is up and they potentially got to pay big money to, they start losing guys like CMC and George Kittle, who are getting, closer to the end here. They got a few more years. Trent Williams is talking about possible retirement. If you want a guy who can carry you when the chips are down a little bit, I don't believe Brock Purdy is that guy. I don't think he's that player. I don't think he has the natural ability to do those things. I think Trey Lance absolutely can be the guy. Now, I'm not saying Trey Lance will be the guy. This might be a situation like the Philadelphia Eagles where Carson Wentz and Nick Foles were both the wrong answer. That's possible. But if I am betting on a guy that can do it long term and take this team to its ultimate heights for many, many years to come, I'm betting that guy is Trey Lance. Now, like I said, if you want to win in 2023, and maybe Brock Purdy can even win you a Super Bowl, Brock Purdy's your guy. He's your guy for the year.